The emergency signal came at the worst possible time. Ambassador stood in his private chambers aboard the galactic concordance station called Harmony's Light. His crystalline body caught the starlight from the massive windows. He was a species that looked like tall glass insects. His kind had helped build this station 300 years ago. It floated in neutral space, a place where 17 different species came together to talk instead of fight. The signal was weak. It came from far away from a world called Prime, that lived there. They were a young species new to the galaxy, small creatures with soft gray skin and large dark eyes. They had only joined the Concordance 5 years ago. They were peaceful. They were kind. They had no army. And now they were dying. Played the message again. The voice belonged to a named overseer. She spoke quickly, her words shaking with fear. To any who hear this, please help us. They came 3 days ago, hundreds of ships, thousands of warriors. They have taken our cities. They are putting our people in camps. They say we belong to them now. We have no weapons. We cannot fight. Please, anyone, send assistance. The message ended, felt cold inside his crystal bones. Of course it was They were raiders, slavers. They traveled from system to system, taking what they wanted. They looked like tall lizards wrapped in black armor. Their teeth could bite through metal. Their claws could cut through stone. They lived for conquest. They enjoyed suffering. And now they had found an easy target. Called for an emergency meeting of the Security Council. Within 1 hour, representatives from all 17 species sat around the great circular table. The room was quiet. Everyone had heard the message. High Arbitrator spoke first. She was a being made of living water held together by an invisible force. Her voice rippled like waves on a shore. We must help she said. They are part of our concordance. We swore to protect them. With what forces? Asked General of the Empire. He was a massive creature, like a gorilla made of red stone. My fleet is fighting pirates in the outer reaches. I cannot spare a single ship for 2 months. The collective has similar problems, said another voice. Our military is spread across 12 border disputes. My species has no military at all, said the representative from the Singing Ones, a race of floating jellyfish. One by one, each species reported the same thing. No ships, no soldiers, no help available. Felt despair growing inside him. The concordance was large and powerful, but it was also slow. Moving armies took time. Building fleets took resources. By the time they could respond, there would be slaves, or worse. Prime is too far away, General said finally. Even if we gathered forces today, it would take 3 weeks to reach them. By then, they will be dug in like ticks. We would need a massive invasion fleet to remove them. It would take months to prepare, perhaps a year. A year, they repeated, her watery form trembling. You would leave the in chains for a year. I would save Concordance lives, the general replied coldly. A direct assault against 30,000 warriors would cost us heavily. Is Prime worth 10,000 of our soldiers? The room fell silent. No one wanted to answer that question. Then a calm voice spoke from the far end of the table. We can have a team there in 6 days. Every head turned. Every eye focused on the human ambassador. Director Wei sat quietly in her chair. She was a small woman with gray hair pulled back tight. Her face showed no emotion. She wore a simple black uniform with no medals or decorations. Among the massive aliens around her, she looked almost fragile. But her voice carried across the entire chamber. 6 days, General laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. Impossible, the physics alone would require. We have a rapid response vessel already in that sector, Director continued, as if he had not spoken. The crew is on standby. They can reach Prime in 6 days. Leaned forward. Humans were strange creatures. They had only been part of the Concordance for 50 years. In that time they had been quiet, polite. They traded fairly. They kept their promises. But there was something about them that made uncomfortable. something he could not name. "How many soldiers can you deploy in such a vessel?" he asked. "What kind of force can you send so quickly?" Director met his gaze. Her eyes were dark and still, like deep water. 8. The chamber erupted. 17 species all talked at once. Some laughed, some shouted. The general slammed his stone fist on the table. 8 soldiers against 30,000. This is a joke. This is an insult to the... "It is not a joke," Director said. Her voice did not rise. It did not need to. Something in her tone made the room grow quiet again. "These 8 individuals are specialists. They are trained for exactly this kind of situation. No 8 beings in the galaxy could defeat 30,000, the general insisted. Not even the legendary warriors of old could manage such a thing. Director smiled. It was a small smile and it did not reach her eyes. "General, your people have been in space for 4,000 years. In that time you have fought perhaps 50 wars. My people have been in space for only 300 years. She paused. "But before that we spent 100,000 years fighting each other, every single day, on every piece of land, with every weapon we could invent." She stood up and despite her small size, the room felt different. "We have specialists that your species cannot imagine. People who have dedicated their entire lives to the art of ending other lives, not because they enjoy it, but because they are very, very good at it." The room was completely silent now. "They asked for assistance," Director said. "Humanity will provide it. 8 of our people will go to Prime, and when they are finished they will leave, or they will die. The choice will be theirs." She sat back down. High Arbitrator spoke carefully. "And if your 8 specialists fail?" Director folded her hands on the table. "Then we will send more." Looked at the small human woman. He had lived for 300 years. He had seen wars and wonders and things that explanation. But in that moment, looking at Director's calm face, he felt something new. For the first time in his long life, Ambassador of the Collective felt afraid of humans. The ship was called the Quiet Professional. It moved through space like a shadow, black against black, invisible to any scanner. Inside, 8 humans prepared for war. Commander Sarah stood in the briefing room and looked at her team. She was tall and strong, with dark skin and short gray hair. Her eyes had seen terrible things. She had led missions on 12 different worlds. She had saved lives. She had taken lives. Her military file was 700 pages long, and 500 of those pages were covered in black ink. Secrets that no one was allowed to know. "Listen up," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. "You all know why we are here. They are under occupation. 2 million civilians are being held in labor camps. They have 30,000 warriors on the ground plus orbital support." She pressed a button and a hologram of Prime appeared in the air. It was a beautiful world, green and blue, covered with forests and rivers. But now there were dark spots on its surface. Burn marks. Destroyed cities. "Our mission is simple," continued. Free the civilians, minimal collateral damage." A man in the corner laughed softly. His name was Al, but everyone called him Ghost. He was thin and quiet, with a face that people forgot the moment they looked away. He was an infiltration specialist. He could walk into any building, any base, any fortress, and walk out again without anyone knowing he had been there. Once he had spent 3 days inside an enemy stronghold. He ate their food. He slept in their beds. He killed their leader. And no one saw him, not once. 30,000 against 8, Ghost said. "I like those odds." Next to him sat Doctor. She was small and precise, with steady hands and cold eyes. She was a doctor. She could heal any wound, cure any disease, save any life. But she could also do the opposite. She knew exactly how every species in the galaxy could die. She had created poisons that killed in seconds and poisons that killed over weeks. Her medical bag contained miracles and nightmares in equal measure. "I have been studying biology," she said. "They have several weaknesses we can use. Their respiratory system is sensitive to certain compounds. Their eyesight is poor in low light, and they process pain more intensely than humans. Good to know, said from across the room, was enormous. He stood nearly 7 feet tall and weighed over 300 pounds, all of it muscle. He specialized in heavy weapons and explosions. He could turn a building into dust with the equipment in his bag. He could collapse a mountain if he needed to. Once, during a siege that lasted 40 days, he had done exactly that. I brought extra charges, said with a small smile, just in case. Sergeant did not smile. She rarely did. She sat apart from the others, cleaning a rifle that looked longer than she was tall, was a sniper. Her confirmed kills numbered in the hundreds. Some of those shots had been made from distances that should have been impossible. 3 miles, 5 miles. Once she had hit a target from 7 miles away through a sandstorm at night. No one understood how she did it. She never explained. I have studied the terrain, said quietly. There are good positions in the northern mountains. I can cover a lot of ground from there. Jin stretched her arms and cracked her knuckles. She was young, barely 30, but she moved like water flowing over stones. She was a close combat specialist. She knew 12 different martial arts. Her hands could kill faster than most weapons. In 4-star systems, those hands were legally classified as deadly weapons. She had once fought her way through 40 enemies using nothing but a broken chair leg. I hope some of them want to fight close, Jin said. It has been too long since I had a real challenge. Lieutenant Cole barely looked up from his computer screen. He was thin and pale with dark circles under his eyes. He lived in the digital world. He could hack any computer, crack any code, break any security system. He had once crashed an entire planet's defense network from a coffee shop on a space station. The planet surrendered 6 hours later. Their communication systems are outdated, Cole said, typing rapidly. I can own them in about 20 minutes. After that, they will only see what I want them to see. The last member of the team sat in the shadows. Father was an older man with a white beard and kind eyes. He had been a military priest once, long ago. He had offered comfort to dying soldiers and prayed over mass graves, but somewhere along the way, he had learned other skills. Now he specialized in psychological operations. He could break a person's mind with words alone. His gentle voice had made hardened killers confess everything. Some people said he could see into souls. Fear is a weapon, Father said softly. They think they are predators. We will show them what it means to be prey. Commander nodded. She had worked with these people for years. She trusted each of them with her life. More importantly, she trusted them with the lives of 2 million innocent people. Here is the plan, she said. We do not attack directly. We do not give them a target. We become ghosts. We become nightmares. We make them afraid of every shadow, every sound, every breath. She pointed at the hologram. Ghost and Cole will infiltrate first. Ghost handles physical reconnaissance. Cole takes over their networks. We need to know everything. Patrol routes, guard schedules, weak points. Ghost and Cole both nodded. Once we have intelligence, we start phase 2. You will take position in the mountains. High-value targets only. Make every shot count. Make every shot impossible to explain. Touched her rifle gently, like a mother touching a child. You handle infrastructure, power stations, ammunition depots, supply lines, nothing loud at first. Make it look like accidents, equipment failure, bad luck. Grinned, I can do subtle for a while. Doctor, prepare your special packages. I want options. Non-lethal options that make them sick. Lethal options for when we need them. The doctor nodded once. Jin, you are our scalpel. When we need someone removed quietly and personally, you go in. Jin cracked her knuckles again. Father, you will handle the psychological campaign. Broadcasts, rumors, fear. Make them believe that demons have come to Prime. The old priest smiled gently. I will give them a sermon they will never forget. Commander looked at her team. 8 people, 8 specialists, 8 nightmares that they had never imagined. We drop in 36 hours, she said. Get some rest. When we land, we do not stop until the job is done." The team dispersed. The quiet professional continued its silent journey through the stars, and somewhere on Prime, 30,000 warriors went about their business, unaware that death was coming for them. Death wearing human faces. The insertion pod fell through the atmosphere like a piece of dead rock. That was exactly what it was supposed to look like. The ships circling Prime detected it on their scanners. They marked it as debris, space junk, nothing important. Inside the pod, 8 humans waited in silence. Commander watched the altitude numbers drop on her display. 10,000 meters, 5,000, 1,000. She felt the retro thrusters fire, slowing their fall just enough. The pod hit the ground in a dense forest, 50 kilometers from the nearest outpost. The impact was hard but controlled. "Everyone out," ordered. "We have 30 minutes before they might send someone to check on the debris." The team moved fast. They grabbed their equipment and disappeared into the forest, set charges inside the empty pod. 5 minutes later, the pod exploded into 1,000 pieces of burning metal. Now there was nothing left to find. For the first 3 days, the team moved like shadows. They traveled only at night. They left no tracks. They made no fires. They ate cold food and slept in shifts, scouted ahead while Ghost moved closer to enemy positions. Cole set up his equipment in a hidden cave and began his digital invasion of the networks. On day 2, Cole smiled at his screen. "I am in," he said. "Their security is terrible. I can see everything: patrol routes, supply schedules, communications between commanders. They have no idea I am watching." "Good," said. "Start small. Change things that look like mistakes. A patrol goes to the wrong location. A supply delivery arrives late. Nothing that looks like sabotage. Not yet." Cole nodded and began typing. Ghost returned on day 3 with a full report. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. 32,000 warriors, not 30. They have 6 main camps and about 200 smaller outposts. The civilian labor camps are in the southern valley. Heavy guards, electric fences. They are being worked hard, mining mostly. I saw some bodies. Felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her face calm. "What about their command structure?" 7 high commanders. The boss is called L, old warrior, lots of scars. He runs things from the main camp near the capital city. The other commanders are spread across the planet. "Then we start with the commanders," decided, one by one, quietly. On the night of day 4, the first commander died. His name was. He was in charge of the Eastern Territory. He had a reputation for cruelty. He enjoyed watching prisoners suffer. He slept in a fortified building surrounded by 50 guards. Ghost entered through a ventilation shaft that was supposed to be too small for any creature to fit through. He moved through the darkness without making a sound. He found sleeping in his bed. The commander never woke up. Ghost injected a tiny amount of Doctor's special compound directly into his neck. The commander's heart simply stopped. No wound, no evidence, just death. In the morning, the guards found their commander cold and still. The doctors examined the body for hours. They found nothing wrong. It looked like his heart had simply given up. The second commander died 2 days later. Her name was A. She was inspecting a supply convoy when her vehicle exploded. Had planted the charges 3 nights before, hiding them so well that even a detailed scan missed them. The explosion looked like an engine failure. Bad luck. Tragic accident. The third commander vanished completely. His name was. He was walking between buildings in his own camp, surrounded by guards. He stepped behind a storage container. When the guards followed, 10 seconds later he was gone. No trace, no blood, no sign of struggle, just empty air where a 7-foot warrior had been standing. Jin had been waiting in the shadows. She had struck so fast that never had time to scream. She had carried his body to a hiding place where no one would ever find it. By the time his guards raised the alarm, Jin was 3 kilometers away. Fear began to spread through the ranks. Warriors started seeing threats in every shadow. Soldiers refused to go anywhere alone. Commanders doubled their guards, then tripled them, but it did not help. Nothing helped. On day 8, Father broadcast his first message. Cole had taken control of the enemy communication network. Every radio, every speaker, every screen suddenly played the same transmission. The priest's voice was calm and gentle, like a father telling a bedtime story. Soldiers of the Hear Me, we are here for the innocent people you have taken. Every hour you stay on this world, more of you will die. You will not see us. You will not hear us. You will simply stop breathing. Your commanders are already dead. Your defenses mean nothing. Leave now and some of you may live. Stay and you will learn what humanity does to slavers. The broadcast ended. The panicked. El, the Supreme Commander, was not a coward. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had never retreated from anything. He refused to believe that a handful of humans could threaten his army. He ordered a massive sweep of the northern wilderness. 3,000 warriors marched into the forest with orders to find and destroy the human team. Was waiting for them. From her position in the mountains, she could see everything. Her rifle was a masterpiece of engineering, accurate at distances that should have been impossible. She began shooting. The first shot hit an officer from 4 kilometers away. The warriors around him did not even hear the gunshot. They just saw their leader fall with a hole in his head. The second shot came 30 seconds later. Another officer died. Then another and another. They could not find the shooter. They could not hide from her. They spread out through the forest, searching desperately but moved like smoke. She shot from one position, then moved to another. Every shot killed. Every shot was impossible to trace. Meanwhile, Ghost moved among the hunting parties like a phantom. He slit throats in the darkness. He set traps that killed silently. He whispered in ears moments before they died. Jin waited in the dense undergrowth. When small groups of warriors passed by, she struck without warning. Her hands moved faster than their eyes could follow. Bodies dropped without making a sound. Collapsed a cliff onto a column of vehicles. The explosion looked almost natural. Almost. Doctor had poisoned the water supply at their temporary camp. By morning, 200 warriors were too sick to stand. The hunt lasted 48 hours. 3,000 warriors entered the northern wilderness. 19 came back. They were not wounded. They were not chased out. They simply could not find anyone else alive. The forest had swallowed their army whole. El listened to the survivor's report. His scales had gone pale. His claws trembled. "What are these humans?" he whispered. No one could answer him, because no one had ever seen humans like this before. And somewhere in the darkness, Commander smiled. The real work was just beginning. They were breaking. It started slowly at first. A few soldiers refused to go on night patrol. A few guards abandoned their posts when strange sounds came from the shadows. A few warriors simply walked away from their camps and never came back. Then it got worse. El executed 3 soldiers for cowardice. He made the entire camp watch. He thought fear of punishment would be stronger than fear of the invisible enemy. He was wrong. That night someone wrote words on the wall of his personal quarters. The words were in the language. They said, "We are inside your walls. We are watching you sleep. Run while you can." El had guards on every door. He had sensors on every window. He had warriors patrolling every hallway. But somehow, someone had gotten inside his room without anyone seeing. He did not sleep that night or the next. Commander watched the chaos from a safe distance. She spoke to her team through tiny communicators that could not be detected. "Phase 3, she said. "Time to break them completely." Made his move first. The main ammunition depot was the largest building in the capital camp. It held enough weapons and explosives to fight a war for a year. 200 guards protected it at all times. The security systems were the best the possessed. Had planted his charges 3 nights ago during a shift change. He had dressed in armor that Ghost had stolen from a dead officer. He had walked right through the main gate, nodding at guards who did not look twice at him. He had spent 4 hours inside, carefully placing explosives in exactly the right places. Now he pressed the button. The explosion lit up the night sky. The fireball rose so high that on the other side of the planet could see it. The sound was like thunder that never stopped. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but a crater. No weapons, no ammunition, no building, just a hole in the ground where an army's supplies used to be. The same night, Jin infiltrated a guard barracks. The building held 50 sleeping warriors. They were the elite guards, the best fighters in L's personal army. They slept with weapons beside their beds. They slept with one eye open. They thought they were ready for anything. Jin moved through the barracks like water flowing through stones. Her hands were gentle. Her movements were silent. She touched each sleeping warrior once, pressing exactly the right points on their bodies. They did not wake up. They would never wake up. In the morning, the other guards found 50 of their best warriors lying peacefully in their beds. Their eyes were closed. Their faces were calm. There was no blood, no wounds, no sign of struggle. They looked like they were still sleeping, but their hearts had stopped beating hours ago. They had never seen anything like it. Some warriors began to believe the humans were not human at all. They whispered about demons, about spirits of death, about ancient curses come to life. Lieutenant Cole added fuel to the fire. He had complete control of the communication network now. He used it to spread lies. He created fake messages between commanders, accusing each other of treason. He fabricated orders that contradicted other orders. He made it seem like half the leadership was working against the other half. Within 3 days, soldiers were pointing weapons at each other. A fight broke out in the western camp when one commander accused another of being a spy. 30 warriors died before anyone realized it was all based on fake evidence. But by then, the trust was gone. Everyone suspected everyone else. Father continued his broadcasts. His voice came through every radio, every speaker at random times, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes during meals, sometimes during important meetings. There was no way to block it. Cole made sure of that. "How many of you are left?" the priest asked gently. "Count your friends, count your commanders. How many were alive yesterday that are dead today? Tomorrow there will be fewer. The next day fewer still. We do not tire, we do not stop. We will be here long after the last of you has stopped breathing." Doctor introduced her special compound into the food supply. It was not lethal. She had designed it specifically to make miserable without killing them. Within hours, half the occupation force was violently ill. Warriors who could barely stand could not fight. Guards who spent their time running to the waste facilities could not watch prisoners. Officers who could not keep food down could not give orders. The sickness lasted 3 days. In that time, the human team moved freely. They gathered intelligence. They contacted resistance groups. They prepared for the final push. And they kept killing. Every day someone important died. A colonel found with his throat cut, a major who stepped on a hidden mine, a captain whose vehicle crashed for no reason. Each death was different. Each death was impossible to prevent. El finally understood what was happening. This was not a battle. This was not even a war. This was an execution, and he was already dead. He just had not stopped moving yet. He called for evacuation. His officers argued they had conquered this world. They had 30,000 warriors. Retreat was shameful. Retreat was weakness. They did not retreat. El pointed at the maps, pointed at the casualty reports, pointed at the list of dead commanders, which now filled 3 pages. "We are not fighting an army," he said, his voice hollow. "We are fighting ghosts. Every day we stay, more of us die. The humans have not even shown themselves yet. We have not killed a single one of them. Not one. We cannot fight what we cannot find. The evacuation order went out that night. It was chaos. Warriors fought each other for seats on transport ships. Discipline collapsed completely. Soldiers stole supplies from each other. Officers abandoned their troops. The proud army became a terrified mob scrambling to escape. The prisoners watched in amazement as their captors ran for the sky. As the last transport lifted off, Commander walked out of the forest. She stood in the open in plain sight for the first time since landing on Prime. She wore her black uniform. She carried her rifle loosely at her side. Behind her, 7 shadows emerged from the trees. The retreating could see her from their ships, a small human woman, standing calmly in the middle of the chaos she had created. She raised one hand. She waved. El watched from his command ship. He would remember that wave for the rest of his life. A small gesture, almost friendly, from the person who had destroyed his army. Not with fleets, not with armies, just 8 humans and 2 weeks of terror. As his ship fled toward the safety of deep space, El made a promise to himself. He would tell everyone. He would warn every raider, every slaver in the galaxy. Never attack what humans protect. Because they would come for you, they would find you, and you would never see them coming. The celebration on Harmony's Light lasted for 3 days. The delegation could not stop crying. Their tears flowed freely as they embraced Director Wei, the human ambassador who had promised to save their people, and she had kept that promise. 2 million were free. Their world was liberated. Their nightmare was over. Overseer, the same official who had sent the desperate distress call, stood before the full galactic concordance. Her small gray hands trembled as she spoke. "We asked for help," she said, her voice breaking. "We had no hope. We thought we would die as slaves, but humanity answered. 8 of your people came to our world and gave us back our lives. We will never forget this. That will stand with humanity forever." The chamber erupted in applause. Well, the species that could applaud did. Others made their own sounds of approval. Tentacles waved, crystals chimed, water rippled. Ambassador of the collective did not join the celebration. He watched Director carefully. The human woman accepted the thanks with quiet grace. She smiled politely. She said the right words, but had lived for 300 years. He knew how to read people, and what he read in Director terrified him. She was not proud, she was not boastful. She treated the liberation of Prime like a small matter, a simple task, something barely worth mentioning. That was what scared him most. After the ceremony, approached the human ambassador. His crystalline body hummed with nervous energy. "Director," he said, "may I speak with you privately?" She nodded and led him to a quiet observation room. Stars filled the massive windows. Its reflection shimmered in the glass like a ghost made of diamonds. "We have studied the reports from Prime," he said. "Our analysts have examined every piece of data, every recording, every survivor testimony." Director waited. Her face showed nothing. 8 of your people destroyed an army of 32,000, continued. They killed over 3,000 warriors directly. They caused another 2,000 casualties through sabotage and psychological collapse. They freed 2 million prisoners, and they did not lose a single member of their team. "That is correct," Director said. "This should not be possible." His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of deep distress. "Our military scientists cannot explain it. The mathematics do not work. The tactics should have failed. They should have overwhelmed them through sheer numbers. And yet they did not." Moved closer, his voice dropped to a whisper. "Director, I must ask you something, and I need you to answer me honestly." "I will try. Those 8 specialists, are they your best warriors?" Director was quiet for a long moment. She turned to look out the window, at the endless stars scattered across the darkness. "No," she said finally, "they are not." Felt his heart skip a beat. Had 3 hearts and all of them skipped at once. "They are not your best." Ambassador, those 8 specialists were given very specific orders. They were told to minimize casualties. They were told to show mercy wherever possible. They were told to give the enemy every chance to retreat. She turned back to face him. Her dark eyes reflected the starlight. "They are the operatives we send when we want to be gentle." Could not speak. His translator implant tried to process her words, but his brain refused to accept them. "There are worse," he finally managed. "Ambassador, humanity has been killing for a very long time. We started before we had language, before we had tools. We killed with our bare hands and our teeth. Then we invented rocks, then spears, then swords, then guns, then bombs, then weapons that could destroy entire cities in a flash of light." Director's voice remained calm, almost peaceful. "Every generation, we found new ways to end lives. We became very good at it, not because we are evil, but because our world was hard and killing was often the only way to survive." She paused. "When we finally stopped fighting each other, we took all that terrible knowledge and organized it. We created specialists for every kind of killing: silent killing, loud killing, fast killing, slow killing, psychological killing. We have people who can end a life from the other side of a planet. We have people who can walk into a room of enemies and leave as the only one breathing." Felt very cold. His crystals had stopped humming. "The team we sent to Prime, they are the gentle ones, the careful ones, the ones with restraint." Director smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "They are the ones we are comfortable showing to the galaxy." "And the others," whispered. "The others stay home. We hope we never need to use them." The silence stretched between them. Thought about all the species in the concordance, though with their stone bodies and crushing strength, the who could drown enemies in living water, the singing ones whose voices could shatter bones. None of them scared him like this small human woman with her calm voice and her terrifying truths. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because you asked, and because I want you to understand something." Director put her hand on his crystalline arm. Her touch was warm, human warm. "Humanity does not seek war. We do not want to conquer or enslave. We spent thousands of years doing those things to each other, and we are tired of it. We joined the concordance because we want peace." She squeezed gently. "But we will never forget how to fight. We will never lose the skills that kept us alive on our death world. And if someone threatens the innocent, if someone attacks those who cannot defend themselves, we will respond. With 8 specialists. With whatever is necessary." Director released his arm and walked toward the door. She stopped at the threshold and looked back. "Ambassador, you asked if those 8 were our best. Let me put it another way. Those 8 specialists were told to solve a problem with minimum force. They accomplished their mission in 2 weeks with 0 friendly casualties and gave the enemy every chance to survive." Her eyes grew distant. "If we had sent the truly lethal ones, if we had told them to use maximum force with no restrictions, there would be no left anywhere, not on Prime, not in their home systems, not anywhere in the galaxy. We would have erased them completely, and no one would have been able to stop us." She paused. "That is why we send the gentle ones first, because we hope we never have to send the others." She left, the door closed silently behind her. Stood alone in the observation room for a very long time. In the months that followed, the changed. They stopped raiding. They returned captured populations. They paid reparations to species they had wronged. They avoided human space with almost religious dedication. When other species asked why, they said nothing. But in their quiet moments, in the dark spaces between stars, their elders whispered stories to their children. Tales of a small, fragile species from a violent world. A species that smiled softly and spoke gently. A species that sent 8 warriors against 30,000 and called it a gentle response. Never threaten what humanity protects, the elders warned. Never harm the innocent when humans are watching, because they will come for you, they will find you, and the ones they send first are the merciful ones. Somewhere in human space, 8 specialists returned to their normal lives. They drank coffee, they read books, they played with their children, they looked like ordinary people. Nobody who saw them would guess what they could do. And far away, on 100 different worlds, people slept peacefully. People who had never met a human. People who would never know that somewhere in the darkness, 8 quiet professionals were ready. Ready to answer the next call for help. Ready to remind the galaxy what humanity could do. Ready to be merciful. Unless mercy was no longer an option.